We're good?
Okay.
All right, we will to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Canode,
Here.
Mr. Creed,
Here.
for Barrow absent, Mr. Ruth.
Here.
For Trainer.
Here.
Mr. Mara.
Here.
Mr. Zazarino.
Here.
Notice of this meeting was provided to the Borough News and Courier News, filed with the municipal clerk and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 5th, 2024. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag. It is America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the September 29th, 2025 meeting of the Bernardsville Borough Council. This meeting is being conducted in person in the council chambers in Borough Hall, and it is being broadcast live on YouTube and on Zoom to make it as convenient as possible for residents to attend the meeting. Members of the public who are here in person and those attending remotely on Zoom will be given the opportunity to comment at appropriate times during the meeting in accordance with the following guidelines. Members of the public will be allowed to speak during the open sessions and during formal public hearings on the agenda, including public hearings on ordinances. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, which will be monitored and enforced by the borough clerk. Comments containing offensive, profane, or indecent language or language constituting hate speech will not be permitted. Remote participants will be muted unless they are unmuted by the clerk, and remote participants will not be able to unmute themselves. The clerk will mute remote speakers at the expiration of their 3 minutes of allotted time, or if they make any inappropriate or offensive comments. All speakers, whether in person or on Zoom, shall state their names and addresses before making their comments. Speakers on Zoom shall activate their cameras so that they can be seen by members of the governing body and audience. Failure of the governing body to provide a live broadcast of this meeting or technological problems encountered during the course of the meeting that affect remote viewing and or participation will not invalidate this meeting or any action taken, including but not limited to the adoption of any ordinance, resolution, or motion. All right. Our first presentation is our auditor, who's going to tell us how we did last year.
Meeting is stopped.
On the X.
Hi, everybody. My name is John Swisher. I'm partner with Supply Cleaning Company. You guys selected our firm to conduct the audit for the year ended December 31st, 2024. The audit is required by the state of New Jersey, and the audit report date is September 15th. It has already been filed with the Division of Local Government Services. Important to note, I always kind of start, this is a financial and compliance audit. It's not an operational audit, which is a big difference. We're not judging how well you're doing stuff. Is everything in the right bucket, and are your rules and regulations involving internal controls and compliance in place? Also important to note, if there's any accountants on the board, this is not done under GAAP, the generally accepted accounting principles. New Jersey, being special, of course, has a special purpose framework of accounting, and it's actually a little bit more conservative than GAAP, which is a good thing. So what is North Wyman having one? All local units, like I said, are required by law to have an audit. It's a risk-based audit where we come in, and our firm does only government accounting. That's all we do. We do 83 municipalities. We try and figure out where the risky areas are and tell our audit program to address those areas. Like you imagine, taxes, payroll, those types of things we're really concentrating on. The purpose of the audit at the end of the day is to render an opinion on the financial statements and whether they're free from material misstatement. The report that I'm sure you guys have all memorized by this point. In the front has, we were just joking about the fact, you look at the back, so there was a comment of recommendations, and whether your names are spelled right in the report. But the reality is the most important scheduling is this opinion. And basically, we're telling all the readers of the financial statements, which includes you folks, the public, federal, state government, bond issuing agencies, that everything is within material misstatement. You can rely on the financial statements when you're making decisions, particularly, for instance, when you're working on your budget. You can rely on the numbers that are in the audit, which is very, very important. And the kind of opinion you're looking for on that financial statement is unmodified. Okay, I'm happy to report. Again, you've got an unmodified opinion. Most municipalities in the state of New Jersey do get an unmodified opinion, but there are situations where we get a modified opinion. Everything's okay except for this. You get a disclaimer opinion. The records, we can't satisfy ourselves as the record in certain areas. or an adverse opinion where there basically is no evidence, okay? You have an unmodified opinion, which is the most important thing. And so you can rely on the financial statements. As a governmental unit, you're required to also have a report under gas, generally accepted auditing standards, where we have to go in and look at your internal controls, which is your local rules and regulations, to make sure everything gets into the right bucket, and to make sure that there's no fraud, or the fraud is detected within a reasonable period of time. So you guys design your internal controls, and we look at those controls, make sure they're suitably designed to accomplish those two things. And then we test them, make sure they're actually in effect. For instance, you guys will approve a bills list perhaps tonight. That's part of your internal controls. Signing off on a receiving signature, that's part of your internal controls. So we make sure they're suitably designed, which they are, and then we test them to make sure they're actually in effect. This is where we kind of get to the recommendations part of it. If there were recommendations in that second gas letter, you would see, we would point out to you that there were problems with the internal controls. I'm happy to report there were problems with internal controls. The second part of that second opinion of the report is on compliance. Okay, again, we're in the state of New Jersey. There's plenty of compliance in the statutes and the administrative code. On top of that, federal regulations as well. Think about payroll, filing for payroll taxes, all that kind of stuff. Bids is another great example of compliance. So we're going in and we're testing certain elements to make sure you're in compliance with the rules and regulations. Again, this is an area that if you did have recommendations, it would show up in this letter. Again, happy to report you don't have any problems with that. Last few years, you also had an opinion on a single audit, which is on your grants. You have over $750,000 in either federal or state grants. You have to do additional testing. And a lot of municipalities have had this over the last few years because of the COVID money working its way through. It's kind of through most of our municipalities. Bernardsville is a little bit smaller. And so you didn't reach that level. So you don't have a single audit this year. And that level is actually going up to $1 million next year. So chances are, unless you have DOT money, although you think you do have some projects coming up, that could put you back into that single audit situation. You don't have that this year. So again, this is a pretty easy report for me, okay? The records are in good shape. You don't have any comments or recommendations. Everybody kind of wonders about surplus a little bit. Your surplus is just basically kind of holding steady, both in your current bundle and your utility, your sewer utility. So you're holding steady, which is important. You don't want to see the surplus trending down, okay? I'm seeing in some of our towns that's happening, okay? A lot of folks are encountering problems, federal grants, larger communities, urban communities, federal money's kind of drying up a little bit. That's really impacting things. So your surplus is in good shape. You have no comments or recommendations in your report. But I'll take a moment here and stop and see whether there's any questions from the governing body.
Anyone? Like a question, good news.
No, you have a good group here. Leslie's not here, so I can't embarrass her. Leslie, how are you? I'll embarrass her a little bit, man. Original. She does a good job. Fortunate enough that when we first came on here, Leslie was first started. It's been really kind of gratifying to see her growth over the course of the years. But you've got a good team here, no doubt about it, and it's improved, obviously. When we ask questions, we get answers, we don't get frank thoughts. And it's not simple, okay? I come out and give a presentation, but my staff is in here doing the work. And just imagine having to do your day-to-day work and somebody's just poking you every 3 moments. Because we're here for the better part of 3 weeks, and it's not easy for them. But you guys are going in the right direction, no doubt about it. And again, you'll go through this report. If you have any questions, you can reach out and I'll be happy to come back.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Have a good evening.
Okay.
Good job, Leslie. Yes.
Thank you, yeah. Leslie, thank you. For your hard work on that. I've seen it before, but I know you're unnerving. They go, hey, can I have this? Can I have that? Can I? Yeah.
But they're all really nice people that told me.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, so thank you both for your consistent hard work.
And Anthony.
And Anthony, he does a lot. All right, we have minutes to approve from August 11th and August 26th. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that, I'm sorry.
You'll move and I'll say everything.
To approve the minutes from August 11th, 2025, and August 25th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. We then have our first open session. Please remember, this is a council meeting held in public. It is not a town hall meeting. It is not Q&A. It's an opportunity for the public to make a statement. Please stand on the X over there and keep your comments to 3 minutes and give your name and address. Anyone?
Is there more open session? Or this is it?
There's one at the end.
You want to get? One second. Okay.
No, there's a, oh, yeah, they have a, the 8 o'clock hearing.
I'll start with, I filed my paperwork for the Christmas tree, it's in, you'll follow up with the state and insurance policies, okay?
Yeah.
You good on that? What is happening with the parking situation in our community? How is it being handled? I know it's not being handled, so can anyone answer that?
Like I said, this is not a Q&A. We're not here to be grilled. If you want to talk about it, you could probably make an appointment with, our administrator. But it's a much bigger thing than we can answer in a 3-minute time section.
Okay, well, then I'll make some statements. I bought the Essex building 40 years ago. I was told that I needed a parking lot. I rented that parking lot for 40 years for $3,000 a month. You have an ordinance that you're not abiding by in this town. There's not one building that's being taken to task on supplying the number of parking spaces that are needed for that particular business and property. So I've paid that $3,000 a month for all these years. And nobody's parked in that lot, the neighbors and the people that had parties and whatever. But I don't understand why I was singled out that way. They're parking in the library lot, people want to go to the library, can't even get there. Everyone's supposed to have their spaces, but no one has their spaces. So the people that have businesses that have very few spaces are being drowned out. There's no one getting any tickets. There's restaurants that are parking in private properties without permission. They're parking on the road, they're parking on the sidewalk, going in the one way, going the wrong way. So what's gonna happen when the tunnels are all done and we have one hell of a great line of trains going back and forth to the city that nobody will have to go on the roads anymore? What are you gonna do then? Where are they gonna park? That parking lot, we always rented it. You had to pay for the spaces. Do you remember I got on the planning board for a little while and we came up with this system that you have a business, you have to fill out the form. It was very simple. It wasn't the baloney of trying to go into the town and get approval and spend money on a lawyer, a planner, a traffic guy and whatever. Like I spent $55,000 on the salon over there to get an approval. I have parking, I had a building and commercial zone, and we had to go through that scenario.
Isn't that the planning board? I don't think that's not, you don't
No,
have the council for that.
That's, you set the rules, you do the ordinances.
Well, based on recommendations from the planning board.
Well, is there any recommendation from Stratford County to find a space?
That's the 3 minutes.
That businesses are parking on 202 on the street so that customers can't come because their lots are being used by the restaurants in town.
Okay.
So I want to say this too, we cannot put anything in the post office. I'm not the post office, in the railroad station. That's gonna be the end of it. If you think you're gonna put a restaurant in there, which we don't need, to take up those parking spaces, when we're gonna have direct trains, I'm gonna give it to you again, direct trains going back and forth to New York City. It's gonna kill the small businesses being killed right now. They can't even get deliveries in the town. There's no place for the trucks to
Joe,
park.
your time is up and other people would like to speak.
Okay, I can get up again?
You have more to say?
Oh, yeah, I have a lot to say. I'll let somebody else get up.
Patrice,
Yeah,
Patrice had raised her hand.
you're destroying our town.
Hi, my name is Patrice Cummings. I live at 34 Spruce Place in Bernardsville, and I'm here tonight with my husband, Tom Cummings. I hope we are in the appropriate place, but we were advised about an hour ago to come here to speak to you about an issue that we are having on our property at 34 Spruce Place. We purchased the property in 1992. And at that time, it's about 1.1 acre, and I have all sorts of surveys and maps here if you need them, to explain. There was at the time, the septic system that was in place is a 2-tank septic system. You have gray water that goes into the front yard from the laundry and the kitchen. And then you have a black water septic tank on the side of the house that takes all the other waste and water from all the other parts of the house. The septic system was put in when the house was built by the family before us, in 1967. And we still have the same septic system, in part because we take very good care of it. And we have it cleaned, at the appropriate, timeframes, 3 years and 6 years, 6 years for the cesspool. And, we wanted to put our house on the market because we purchased a home in Manasquan that we're closing on in October. So in July, we went to an engineer, Steve Parker of Parker Engineering in Somerville, and asked him to come up with a plan for us to do the septic. And we got the initial plans verbally. We didn't get the actual plans, but the plan was to take the pipes from the gray water system, repipe them into the black water system that we currently have, and then go all the way around the back of the property, because there's a house and a pool on the property, and go up on the side of the hill. That sounded reasonable to us, but we decided not to pursue at that moment because we thought it would be better to try to sell the house without having the whole property dug up. So we put the house on the market on September 19th, and I'm happy to report that it sold within 7 days.
Wow.
But when our real estate agent, Cheryl Mataluna, of Bernardsville, took a look at the property. And I don't know if you want to look at these. Yeah. You have it. Oh, okay. That's sufficient. Thank you. Cheryl saw that there was an easement on the property that the engineer did not pick up on. So now we have a problem, because in order to go, we have 4 options. We can either go on the front of the property, which means that we have to dig up the driveway, the walkway, the stairs, and the front lawn. And we have to somehow avoid the cesspool, which has to be crushed in the process of putting a new one. Oops, okay.
So what you're asking us for is to be able to put the
2-inch
2-inch septic pipe through
in the easement and
and
put
it's
property back.
borough easement.
Right, and one more point is that easement was built in the 60s. And in 2001, that street was extended, and there are now 3 drains at the end of Oak Ridge Road that take the drainage and go through the Orbine's property and go out. There is no need for this easement. We didn't realize it was ever going to be an issue. I don't think we ever even realized we had it. So we should have done this a long time ago, but there's no need for that easement. But even so, we're talking about a 2-inch pipe that will be 4 feet underground and covered with dirt. Otherwise, this $100,000 project is going to turn into $140,000. So I'm asking permission to put a 2-inch pipe on the easement.
Anybody have an issue with that?
What kind of easement is it? Right away easement?
Right.
Easement?
But again, that street was extended and there are now 3 drainage, what do we call them?
You got a picture of it.
Picture here. The drainage, from the end of Oak Ridge Road, now, pass out, now goes through a large drainage pipe that goes through the Orbine's property. That's the old Ferranti property that's behind us. It's 3.5 acres. And it drains out into the property, for the Audubon Society. And that's a picture of the drain that comes out.
No, just saying, so that's the original easement when they first built those homes, the first few homes.
Yes, it's the only easement in the Kingsford, Kings,
That's correct.
I forget what it's called, King's Arms, that's the development.
Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna suggest, I just, without a lot more detail, it's kind of hard for me to opine on it, but my recommendation would be, as long as I think we normally have a town engineer, but like the town, the external town engineer they weigh in on it and say that they don't see any issue with it. If Jack is okay with it from a
Legal point of view.
legal standpoint, that it's not gonna, interfere with what we're using that easement for. I don't, in principle, I don't have an issue with it in principle.
In the past, I've got a lot of things in between engagement, but I think this is certainly news that in the past have required a new agent. But I don't think that's necessary here. I think it would be overkill, but I agree with you that it should be subject to the approval.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, do you think Kevin would do it, or do you have?
I would more comfortable having
The
the
engineer.
engineer.
So what do we do? Well, yeah. And can I ask the timeline on this?
Okay. Doesn't mean.
I guess that's.
I think we can, it's subject to. It's a new delay.
Waste. His documents in there and carry worked on the easement, it gets each pipe, feet underground. It does not interfere with the drainage, and so there could be approval of the borough.
Those words.
So yeah, subject to the approval,
Second,
subject to the.
Second.
all in favor?
Alright.
Okay, so we just have to get the engineer to.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Anyone else for the public? Christie, oh.
Thank you so much for what you do. I'm Christy McDonald. I live at 59 Anderson Hill Road. I'm a resident here, but I also am an advisor to the Environmental Commission. I'm just quickly double checking that there is still a hearing about the disposal of the plant at 8 p.m. Okay. I didn't see it on the agenda. But I have to check.
Separate.
That was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
3 minutes or 3 hours. What is the problem with what's going on with the lights in the center of town? The light post has been gone for 8 months. The lights have been out for a year. The timers that I asked for and sent the cut sheets on to the air clocks to go into those panel boxes. That when the lights on, when the sun goes down, you come up back on the morning. Why isn't this stuff being done? Why do we have to go through a dark town? Why isn't it being handled when it's been talked about?
I don't notice lights out.
There's one in the triangle.
At the triangle, that's been out for a year and a half.
It's the lights in there, it's like, it looks like it's like a.
And the one down,
Light.
the one down, or I said, you want me to call on it, because I tell you something, the century and everything, and manufacturer, why do we have, but why? I'll get the dates from the guys, but why do we have to pull into a dark town when some fall is coming? Why? Why haven't got people being ticketed in the town, parking in illegal spots? Why aren't we going according to the time that you can park there? What are you gonna do without the parking lots now that you took them away and you built on them? Where you had plenty of time to find land to build on? Where are these people gonna park? And how, tell me, how are the people gonna turn that out of that road? Coming out of that parking, those parking, they need 250 feet of site coming out onto 202 or coming out onto Mount Airy Road. How are you gonna handle that? Are you gonna jack the cars up and spin them around, so then put them down, okay, now you can go? Have you seen the tractor trailers come down Mount Airy Road and pull into the center of town and turn nose to nose in the southbound lane? And stop that traffic while their tires are on the sidewalks and coming around the corner, not knowing who's on the sidewalk and up the sidewalk and past the bushes? So that's what you wanna build there. That property right now should be condemned and made a parking lot. A public parking lot, because of all the parking problems that you created by eliminating the Mount Airy Road, any other parking. What are you gonna do about parking? I'd like somebody to comment on it.
We have long-term plans.
What?
But it's not an easy answer, Joe.
Not an easy answer. You're digging a bigger hole for us. How about the trucks that come into town, they can't park down low, they stop in the middle of the street, when is that gonna stop?
Where are they gonna, how else do they unload? Where can they go for like we talking about the restaurants?
Yeah,
There's no place else to unload.
then there has to be an unloading zone, right?
Where?
A hash mark out from the deli up to the corner, only for trucks and people delivering. Same thing going down by the Bernards Inn. Now they come around the corner, so you're not gonna provide any parking or any rules to the restaurants on, or anything that's being delivered to our town. So the traffic backs up and the traffic is getting worse. You can see the traffic stop from the Exxon all the way to town now. So how are you gonna deal with that? What's going
We
on?
have New Jersey Trans,
Which area, you said the Exxon to center.
Exxon, the
Traffic.
Exxon down beyond shopping center.
Right.
The traffic now is backed up, if you be here during the day, all the way to town.
Never call it.
Okay,
I drive
I'll
it every
take,
day.
I'll take pictures of it then.
Yeah.
I'll go with you.
I
I'll go down and check it out.
You can see it.
Putting on 287 and everybody gets off and comes through Burnsville, that's when it backs up.
The show- Coming in.
It gets back into the side.
I'll tell you what. I got you free an INET system,
A free what?
an INET system. You have cameras all over town. You pay nothing for it.
Broken at the train station.
Put cameras on 202, at the railroad station, on all these places that you're not looking at and taking care of the parking or the traffic or the unloading. Nothing's being done. And it's unsafe,
Okay, thank
all
you.
right?
Yep,
One thing to get an answer on.
I'll take some notes, Bill. Anyone else like to be heard? Jared, I think you're here about the monument.
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, why don't you do that now? Oh, okay. I think it's on your agenda at the very end. We'll review up. That's very nice of you. I don't know.
Do I need to identify this?
Yes.
Okay, Jerry Jo Cranmer, I live at 320 Hardscrabble Road in Bernardsville. And I am the chair of the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. And
Jerry, can you
Yes.
stand on the silver X just because so.
Sorry. Good, I can hear it.
Audience.
sorry, but this proposal was brought to us actually by Anthony. This man who lives in Henry County named Spencer Pett is a real historian about the Revolutionary War. It's his hobby, his passion. He found out the New Jersey Historical Commission, in partnership with Revolution New Jersey, is launching a series of state historical markers for America's 250th anniversary. So we would like to be a part of it. This has to do with the New England troops that were marching here from, they had been in Ticonderoga. I'm not an expert on all of this, so, but all of it's in that material I gave to you. And they weren't needed in that area anymore. So they came across the Hudson and made their way south. And so this proposal is for there to be markers at 14 different towns. And Bernardsville, formerly called Bealtown, is among them. And I think your second page, yeah, this is the first, but that shows you what these historical markers look like. So in any case, 3 brigades of the New England Army. Hitchcock, this isn't very long, so I'll read it all. Glovers from Massachusetts and Connecticut, and sergeants from Massachusetts and New York And the Hitchcocks were from Rhode Island, by the way. About 2,700 men under command of General Torres Lee arrived on Thursday, December 12th, on their way to join Governor General Washington's army in Pennsylvania. Having marched all spring and summer, shoes were worn out. Because of this, many soldiers had their feet wrapped in rags. Others wore the untanned hides of freshly killed cattle, and some marched barefoot. They left a bloody trail in the snow and frozen ground, and yet they persisted. They left along this road for Pluckerman on Friday, December 13th. So our proposal is to put one of these markers between the firehouse and this borough hall. The last picture shows you an area that we thought might be appropriate. And it's not far from the firehouse. And the thought was that if somebody chose to park and read the marker, they could use those spaces in the firehouse lot. So we may be able to get this for nothing. They're going to give 14 markers. And if not, we will take on raising the money for it. That's great. So that's it. And oh, the other thing that Spencer Peck said, that had this New England group not got to Washington Crossing, that the Revolutionary War would have been lost.
Yeah, apparently, so I was there. It's
Yeah,
really
that's
interesting, Peck regaled us with some pretty interesting stories. And has done a lot of this research himself, and not a lot of history on this, 3,000 soldiers reinforced Washington before the Battle of Trenton. And apparently a lot of these, they lost about 1,000 along the way because of the weather and stuff. But a lot of them were from Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and they were fishermen. And those are the guys who ended up sailing across, getting him across to Delaware in order to do it. And if they hadn't been there, then theoretically, they wouldn't have had the Battle of Trenton, and everybody, all the soldiers would have gone home, we'd be in a different place.
Well, and I think he said if they hadn't taken this route, if they had gone a different route, it wouldn't have gotten.
That's right.
Yeah.
That in a timely manner.
One of the, I guess the general, I think it was General, one, he got at White Tavern in Baxter Ridge, and all this really interesting stuff happened, right? All
Be fascinating. I thought ultimately maybe as a town, we might all, see who wants to participate, and maybe we would do a, a caravan of cars and do the whole route.
Well,
Be great.
We're doing this Revolution New Jersey for the
Yeah.
250th.
Right.
This would be a perfect
yeah,
That'd be
thing to
perfect.
do
Yeah.
to celebrate.
the nice thing, the fact is basically doing all the work, and he's doing for all, I think 13 or 14 of these monuments.
14, yeah.
He's done all the legwork, he's doing all the applications, I think really all they need is town to sign off on it,
Yeah, we have the ready for me. Yeah.
Were we all good with this?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty close to. Making you more closer to downtown.
We talked a little bit about like the net English part, but I think folks felt that was, we might want to take a little bit away from
Like
what
two.
it was meant for, the memorial to edit. But, I think this is a good place, or maybe even, sort of like, almost like in the park, like in this area, so. Well, close to the street so people can see it,
Right.
but somewhere where they could park and,
We can determine.
yeah, they're not gonna decide that.
Okay.
See where you're going to fire out, so we will.
Yeah, it's just that you don't. Like.
Yeah.
You might have where somebody would pass.
Yeah.
Well, and then eventually, depending what happens to the dam and the ponds, if this becomes a little bit more of an active park. See, you'll be good there.
Even on the rain gardens.
I think the idea though is to keep it close to the street, because it is the street that they were walking, and that's sort of marker.
Yeah, they did. March on what is now 2.
Okay, so we're good with the idea? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll sign the letter. To the agenda,
Will there going to be another open session?
the very end.
Okay.
Okay, yes,
Yeah, sorry. It's suddenly, this is working, it's Rob Wilson, Bernardsville. It was just related to you and the Revolutionary War anniversary, so you mentioned that as well. You may know that Ken Burns is coming on November 16th with a 6-part series about the
I
revolution.
did.
And figure New Jersey, he's really distressed in New Jersey, he's part of that, so there may be some sort of time, some sort of time.
You can show it at the theater.
Yeah, yeah. It was, I think it's being dripped out, so, but I'll check into it, but that'll be great. And show it. Awesome.
Thank you. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
People would, do not raise their hand.
Okay. All right, and I will close the public session. Moving on to ordinances. I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2025-2026, amending section 11-4 of the Borough's Code entitled Registration and Maintenance of Properties Pending Foreclosure. Would anyone in the public like to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. We'll start down there.
Pass ordinance number 2025-2026 on final reading and adopt this bill.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Creedy,
Yes.
Mr. Roos,
Yeah.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Ms. Zamara, Ms. Zazarino.
Yes.
And now we have ordinances to introduce. You want to read that one?
Let's see, I move that ordinance 2025-2027 requiring the payment of delinquent taxes as a condition for the issuance of a municipal license or and supplementing and amending chapter 2 of the Borough Code entitled Administration be introduced by title, passed on the first reading, published according to law, and then a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, October 27th, 2025.
Second,
Questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Christine.
I move ordinance 2025-2028, amending ordinance 2024-2000 entitled an ordinance vacating a portion of Bernards Ave which is outside the paved roadway and sidewalk area and which is necessary for the construction of the affordable housing development at 63 Bernards Ave by correcting the description of the area vacated. Be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, October 27, 2025.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay.
That ordinance 2025-2029. An ordinance changing membership qualifications required for appointment to the Bernardsville Fire Company. Number 1, first aid squad, and amending chapter 2 of the Borough Code entitled Administration be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, October 27, 2025.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, moving on to resolutions. We're taking off. Why is it? 186. Which was asking for the delay. We don't need to do that. So scratch 186.
You don't need that anymore?
Yeah. Any questions, anyone want to add or discuss? I think they're all pretty.
Mayor, I would turn out that 178 for the fire hydrant. We might need to, so we're just asking for the resolution, the aptitude. Because there might be a need for one at,
Oh, yeah, it's 174.
oh, sorry. There might be a need for one over at the affordable housing on that side of the road, or waiting for the fire. So there's definitely one plan on the side by the sewer plant, so if it turns out that we need a second.
So we change the wording of up to there,
Yeah,
okay, on 174. Anything else? Anybody? You good with all those? Yeah, you wanna move it?
Sure, I move that resolutions 25-170 to 25-192, except for 25-186, be adopted.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Zazarino?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Ruth?
Yeah.
Mr. Freed?
Yes.
All right. Mayor's update. On August 28th, we had the senior interview at the pool. Thank you to Tom and Stephanie for pulling that together. It was Priscilla's Pantry catered it. I think we had a good time. Charlie provided the DJ. I think everybody had a good time and they asked for more events, so. I met on the 29th with the superintendent and business administrator and the board president at the school. For the school district and to go over what they're doing for the referendum. I have little brochures here for all of you. So if you and I believe they're coming in October to do the presentation. With their committees, so we got one already. So this it actually will be. Because they're paying down some of the old debt and replacing it with new debt, so there'll be no change in their debt service. And they're getting I forget how much from the state as well. So they're gonna go through the details of all that.
Can I just get something that?
No, you can at the end.
Okay.
I met with members of the Bernardsville Law Enforcement Foundation. Kevin Valentine and Chris Schmidt, just to talk about what they've got going on in the future, how well they're doing, and they've really done a tremendous job so far in supporting the police. So you'll be hearing more of what's coming up with them. We had the ribbon cutting at the library. I think who was there? Some of the people were there. I think you were there, Christine. Yeah, for the whole new inside redo, yeah. Charlie. Yeah, they did a beautiful job on that. I want to thank Christine and Fran for the 9/11 ceremony since I wasn't here. So thank you for putting the time in to do that. We're getting featured again in Business View magazine. If you recall, they did a feature on us last year, but now that we have become a transit village, they wanted to update it, so I had an interview with them. So hopefully that'll be coming out pretty soon.
What's the publication again?
It's Business View magazine. Yeah, they had done us, I think they had done Ellen last time, and for New Jersey, I think they do. A number of, I think it's only an online paper, but they did a really nice write-up on us last time. Bag for Hunger at ShopRite, we've done that 4 or 5 years now, I think. Thank you, Gina and Al, and Sap was there as well. So that's always fun. They raise a lot of money for this food banks. I also had an interview with New Jersey DOT for an article they're doing on the transit village designation as well, so we're gonna get a lot of publicity from this. I had a meeting with Flash Vote. We're working on the next survey to come out hopefully in the next week or two. Simple, I think, on community priorities. And then we're gonna be doing one for budget, so that before we start working on the budget, we can get some input from the public. We had the Taste of Our Town on Tuesday. We had 170 people there. Rich was there. Charlie was there. Was really, I've heard nothing but good feedback on that. We're just waiting to see how much we raised for the fire company, so I should have that for the next meeting. And I did as my job as a liaison with the fire company, had a meeting with the chief and one of their board members. And we're working on all those items that the, I forget what a lot of them are, but they're giving us a list of, you know, the capital projects they need, and so they're really doing well in communicating better with them, so. Thank you for suggesting that. And that's my report. Nancy, do you have anything?
A couple things I did note in my, updates at the last meeting. I just wanted to mention, I don't think we talked about it the last time, New Jersey American Water is gonna be replacing the water main in the Boylan, Center, Prospect, West, that whole neighborhood. I believe they have 2-inch mains that are increasing 4 inches. And they're started, I believe, today. And I think it goes all in January, they ultimately have to go dig a trench down at the end of Boylan, 30 feet down, and go under the tracks. Yeah, to be able to access the water. And that part won't be until probably January. And yeah, hard drilling 24 hours clock because New Jersey transit 1.5. So all of the residents were supposed to be notified last week by New Jersey American Water. It will probably delay our paving sidewalk project, because
Yeah.
can't be there at the same time. And then later in the meeting, one of the discussion or new business that is about paving, because the county will be paving there in the spring block. Hopefully New Jersey American Water will be out. They're only paving that area, but we'll get to that. Then the other thing is just today, I actually received the updated cost of the dam removal. And it is $3,470,549.25. Approximately 400,000 of that was to stabilize the bank, which is something that we added last year. We really think that it needs to be done in, all the engineers think so, and it makes sense right up by the parking lot where the, Brook goes. So we would like to include that extra 400,000, which is included in the number I just gave you. As you know, we're getting 500,000 in the grant. We're keeping our eyes open for others. And, I just wanted to make it clear, because I did have a resident ask. We did bond ordinances for $1.3 million, 2021, and $1.7 million, 2023. So we, hopefully get that grant. I will get more than it, but I told them at the last meeting that I'd let you know when I got the updated amount. But then the price would increase even without the $400,000 because it's a few years old.
Is it still go to bid though to do that work, or is that?
It has to be bid.
So it has to be bid, so who gave that, that's our engineer?
The engineer, it's Brook Waters, the engineer who's been working on it from probably 2020.
Yeah.
He came here and gave a presentation.
Yeah.
Brook Waters ago.
So theoretically, it goes out to bid, it could be less or.
But
Or more.
Do you think Mary Pace Goldman would come and do another presentation
yeah,
or like an update of something?
yes, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And
We have a lot of
New people.
Yeah.
the state, the whole project was triggered, a requirement from the state to replace the dam. So if we don't finish it within a certain time frame, are they gonna say you're over time, or do we have to ask for an extension?
The permits have end dates on them, so we have to be done by the end date of the permit. We're still, by the way, waiting for the wetland. So they issued one and gave us, clock started ticking, but they don't have the other one. So they kind of need 4 weeks. So I think we'll be fine as long as we keep the deadline. Sure.
So dam safety is not gonna come and say, why is this dam still here?
No, I think that they're the one who issued for a permit. But Mary can address that, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it would be good, look back through it.
And I mean, essentially, since the price has doubled or tripled even, since we first started talking about this.
I think it was 2.3.
Oh, yeah, well, 2.3.
Yeah, and they said we're gonna get grants to cover the whole thing, essentially. Which we're not getting anywhere near that. So I'm just thinking that are we, does the council still wanna continue down the path? Given the cost, I know I brought this up at the last meeting too, but. Like, there's obviously only people on council now as well.
What is our deadline?
The difference would be, if the cost went up for removing it, I would assume the cost went up for repairing it. So I think we're still in the same position when we made the decision.
I was gonna say, what kind of, do we know off the top of our heads what kind of
And it would be
costs
also,
we're planning for our next decade, let's say, if we were to keep it in the way it is and we're allowed to, let's say.
Well, we can't keep it.
Well, when is that date?
We have to either fix it and bring it up to code, or it's gotta
Would
go.
be, well,
and
first.
it's
What
all.
was the SDFMP?
Okay. I'm fine.
Just get a beaver out there. I know, maybe I'm naive, but I also want to understand why it's 3.4. That's take a dam, like a small dam, like.
It's been pulled.
It's
I
more
have
of a-
the,
I mean, you don't have to do it now, but like maybe
I've
more.
got the big,
The
the,
linearings that are.
well, there's, remember the whole department is also being done.
But part of it is, I mean, you have to start way down, like you don't just lift the dam out, you know, there was a whole process of repairing the brook further down and little by little, so it's not just, you know, coming with a crane and lift it out. There's a lot of engineering, grade work. This is, I remember them explaining how long it would take it.
Yeah.
Because you have to anticipate how it's gonna impact down the stream.
I think if we could ask her to come and present.
Yeah, and I think she gave us all that.
Yeah.
That's-
I mean, I'm not. Yeah, it is, but I just would like to understand what it entails.
Well, I can just give you a quick overview. Mobilization and demobilization is $500,000. What does that mean?
What is that, bringing in the equipment?
Yeah.
Taking it away.
The primary dam removal, concrete masonry removal, and stockpile disposal of site is $250,000. The concrete hauling disposal from main dam to disposal site within 10 miles is $360,000. Sediment hauling and disposal, that's the big, $673,000.
It just buried.
Yes.
It's really.
Maybe it's the
The sediment, well, then the
sediment,
If she could come and kind of do a comparison, like the first time she came, and how the cost has changed, like for each one, what the old cost was and what it is now and why. If it's inflation, but that doesn't seem.
It may be more of the disposal because that has become much stricter than it used to be. With disposing of, and then you've got to test all the soil and the.
Things that option us, like, in other words, do the minimum requirements by the state in terms of being in compliance with their rule for this thing, and then worry about the rest later. So it's like $1 million per year over 3 years or something.
Doesn't seem to me like there's an efficiency to it. You know, like, it's like she's, you know, like all of the, you do one thing with that project, it has a knock-on effect, you know, you couldn't like let's, like, bring the down, save some of the grading, like, for later on, again, you know.
Yeah, it's quite a process that I think we need her to explain it, because we're kind of shooting in the dark here.
It's great, it's a big number.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe parts of like and a lot of it is part of like, reclamating the pond and doing the landscape of the park, which is great, which we should have 100% do. Some of that you could do potentially with like fundraiser, naming rights, you can put like cobblestone, put the name, so there's things we could do along those lines too.
And I think it's also involved in, redirecting the stream. You're on both ends, you have to, there's a lot of work to do, so.
$500,000 is contingency, so, it could come in.
Yeah, it could come in less, but I think if she could, especially because we have new people and going to go through what this process involves.
Yeah.
Before we start kind of planning it out. We have our department monthly reports. Do I have a motion to accept the department monthly reports?
I'm going to accept monthly reports.
Second,
All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Correspondence, we had a letter, about the scenic drive extension, and, if it's a private road, then the people that live there are responsible for buying their own signs. So that's not our responsibility. They asked for a sign. I know that firsthand. Unfinished business, you wanna take that, the Claremont, the 5.
Yeah.
I got 3 minutes.
Yeah, we have to turn it, I'll make it
Oh,
fast.
right, we've got the 8 o'clock.
Okay, I'll make it fast, the county has been, investigating for the last few years, the 5 corners, meaning
In Claremont.
and as you know, there's only stop signs on our streets, but Claremont is county road, and they have determined that they would put stop signs on either end of county road to make it a 5-way stop. And they determined that the safest way for both pedestrians and motorists, and they would need to, introduce an ordinance, adopt an ordinance, and so do they, in order to do that. The mayor and I, and the police chief met with them. And then the chief and I met again with them. And, this is their recommendation. They performed a study, and this is what they think is the most, the safest alternative, as well as most profitable. So did anybody?
Is that include crosswalks too, Fairmont?
I don't think so. I could ask.
I don't see a ton of pedestrians there, but.
Originally, we were supposed to get a pedestrian brochure.
Yeah. They can't do both. I don't think they ever approved that. I think that was in our Broadway study, but I don't think they ever approved it. And they said they can't do both. They prefer to do the same side.
I do have a concern that there are visibility issues in that intersection,
Yeah,
but I do worry that getting rid of the only straightaway, which is the county road, which is Claremont, through that strip, I think will it'll almost get rid of any order that intersection has, which is like that, you can go straight up, you know what I mean? It is like, coming up my mount, there's some visibility issues there, which,
yeah.
maybe we can speak, with whether our landowners or whatever, we can, just have a community discussion.
We have to stop, so somebody to adjourn this meeting for now, in order to have the major disposal of public parkland hearing.
I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, so now we are having the hearing. You wanna, and actually what, this is a piece of property on, Claremont Field that was paved. That was actually part of our open space. So what, Green Acres has asked us to do, rather than try and reclaim it, because it's not really useful parkland, is swapping it with property at, we have a new address, I always forget the new.
270.
27 Brook. It's taken a very long time through Green Acres procedures to get this all done, but this is the process we have to go through to do this. So that's why we're having this hearing. So it sounds awful to say disposal, and people have thought we were getting rid of the park completely. It's just simply doing this swap, and the building will compensate the borough for the other property you have to purchase, pretty much. Okay, so, did I get that right?
Yes, yeah, about 10 years ago, we surveyed all the parks in Cal.
All open space, yeah.
We did it. We made sure it got done. Every field, corner markers, topo.
Jack is
trees,
talking.
everything. Just want to give it.
And we had 4 surprises we built in these surveys. The 2 parking areas on Fairmont Road are actually part of Fairmont Field. They were pretty easily resolved. Green Acres did not allow us to exclude them from the Rossi, the recreation open space inventory, but they did say that since they've been parking there since the 1930s, the public would continue to use them. The 2 more difficult ones were the parking area behind Mr. Rossi's building and the parking area behind Lord Road. So Jessica Patterson, not Rolla, from Green Acres, has been very helpful throughout this long, arduous process. In any event, the proposed solution was that the borough would sell those 2 lots to Mr. Rossi, which owns the Ludlow property. In return, that money would go into the open space trust fund. We had to buy part of 271 Mine Brook, not open space trust fund money. It was done general revenues. So it's truly a fiction to some extent. That part that we purchased with general funds is still going to be part of the same park. You know, we had a survey, we had a market, but the end result will be 271 is going to be all parkland. With those 2 parcels where the parking lots are in Ludlow and Rossi, which were never, no one ever knew they were part of Fairmont Field. On the other side of the stream, we had to satisfy Green Acres that we could not use those in any way as part of Fairmont Field. It just wasn't feasible and it didn't make any sense. So they came up with this idea, as I say, that we could purchase part of 271, get reimbursed by Rossi and Ludlow, and we had to provide area photographs, surveys, appraisals for both the parking lots as well as the portion of 270 Mine Road. All kinds of things.
Hoops to jump through.
So much to do is nothing.
The purpose of this is the public to comment on the proposed disposal, which is the mayor said, sounds worse than it is, because we're not really giving up anything, we're giving up land we never used, can't use for parkland. And purchase new parkland in 271 Mine Brook, which will be the substitute for it.
Okay. Chrissy, did you want to be heard on this? Now let's go over the public here. Yeah.
We need to transfer.
Hi, yeah, Christy McDonald, 59 Anderson Hill Road. And I am also an advisor to the Environmental Commission. I'm also a local in that area, so I walk my dog around there, I see the sign and, you know, I'm interested in what's happening. So it sounds like a good idea, given that this is, you know, damage that was done historically, filling in the area around the Mine Brook, which is very important to keep as a buffer stream. But it's done. And, you know, I have a few questions though about the kind of exchange that's occurring here. One of the questions, and you know, we have to do our due diligence as the Environmental Commission and comment and question exactly what is occurring here. So the first question is, and some of the paperwork I've looked at, I haven't had a lot of time to review everything. It said something about there was no financial exchange occurring, but then I did see that there was. So Rossi LLC, is it LLC? And Ludlow, owner, I don't know the name of that company, are providing over $40,000.
That's correct. It's based on cases, it's satisfying communities.
And that's to the municipality, to the open space fund?
Space purposes.
Okay, and that sounds good. Is that fair market value?
Yes,
Okay,
they were green acres included appraisals that
okay,
appraised all three properties.
okay. That's great. And then the question is, the money it's being applied to purchase parkland at 271 Brook Road, which was already purchased.
Yeah.
So you're just basically putting this back in the coffers of the open space fund to reimburse the municipality to use for other open space acquisitions.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, sorry, this is very. So that means it can be used to buy other open space.
Yes, or for
Okay.
improving existing open space. Any of the purposes that we use our open space trust fund for.
Okay. Okay, and that's great, and that, I mean, improving open space, stewardship of open space, some of our open space is not necessarily. It's more passive recreation, or it might have ecological benefits to the municipality, like a buffer on the stream, helping to prevent flooding downstream, helping to absorb, polluted runoff from stormwater. So those are other benefits. Which, kind of leads to just a couple comments here. So in the, some of the documents I saw, it said that the land behind, or on the other side of the Brook from Claremont Field was not really serving any purpose. So I think that we should start with, this is more of a kind of advisory thing, that it did serve a purpose as a buffer for the stream. So that is a public good. Absorbing the stormwater. I think that we should amend some of our verbiage about that.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
We did go to EEP, we shared. And neither Russell nor Winslow will be able to expand the apartments. So the buffer will continue to exist.
As
The parking areas as is and then develop.
Yes. Oh, great. So that was just that, there need to be just, I guess in the paperwork of this transaction, there should be something stating that the buffer, which is already over the 50-foot, there's supposed to be a 50-foot vegetated buffer, so the whole area is paved pretty much. That there need to be in place some sort of requirements that there won't be any more loss of buffer there. But also a concern I want to raise is that there's runoff that comes from the parking area. So if any vehicles are leaking gas or oil or anything, or any other chemicals, that those could go right into the stream. So are there any ways to mitigate that potential issue? Given that most of the vegetative buffer has been removed.
With respect to the first part of the question, the deeds that will convey the property to Ludlow must have restrictions on any further development.
Okay,
As to how we can mitigate any car from the street.
okay, that may be something to consider, Mr. Ralphie.
Well, I mean, yes, but don't forget, the Little League field wasn't there. We filled that in as a young guy working, we filled all that in. And that's how that was, we went up to the Brook when we were filming it, and I was a young kid, with a license, just a license, and we had no field there. So that piece of property was there the way it is, so that it was built on. Actually, I was 20-some years old and supplied the siding. But anyway, that, there's very little runoff there. I have a trough coming down the driveway and everything's tight. But the trough catches any rain coming down the driveway to that lower parking lot. So the only thing that runs off, and half that parking lot is covered, it's an underground garage. And so it's just that surface area there. And then it runs into maybe a 10 to 12, 14 feet of grass and mulch and stuff before it hits the Brook. So I don't see anything that, I don't see any oil spots or anything dripping on that area.
So, and that's not just you, it's also the Ludlow property, so hopefully they have a lot of trucks parked there and vans and things, so hopefully.
Yeah, they're on gravel, they were there, you know, but I'll talk to them.
Okay, well, there is potential to install, the parking lot is never full. I have never seen that parking lot full
Right.
behind your building, at the other building. Is there the potential to install, some sort of green infrastructure to capture some of the runoff and filter it before it gets to the stream? To take away some of the pavement?
Really, I mean. Or so, you know, we would notice right away, there was somebody dripping oil. The people in and out, I mean, we're gonna build a new handicap entrance back there for the handicap people. But a lot of people park in the front wall.
But so that's what I'm saying, is there a potential to take away some of the parking lot and replace it with a little more buffer or green infrastructure like a rain garden installation behind it?
They could do a basin that has a filter or something.
Yeah, similar to the rain gardens that we see in town that we put in over at the library. So it just captures the water and allows it to slowly infiltrate into the ground. Vegetation, the vegetation helps to take out the pollutant.
There. Any problems?
Well, those are my comments, because we do want to submit written comments, so I just wanted to double check some of these things. And I'll include these discussions as well, just that there could be green infrastructure there and to capture the runoff from that parking lot.
Just work together to make sure that we'll put cameras there, check out what's going on, but I've never seen any. So if there's something in the perimeter that goes into the meets of the grass, there's something that maybe we could do, okay?
Okay, and I wanted to ask one more question. Other than the issue of green acres, has it been addressed that the buffer was filled in by, within the, you know, regulated width of the stream?
We gave it an DEP and they did investigate the ground, would be violations.
I didn't fill anything in.
Yeah.
The pavement, I mean. Did you put the pave, oh, did you want the building?
I want the building.
Oh, that was paved in 1930? Wow, that's just from
Paid by a contractor that I sold the material when I was 20-some years old and made it.
Okay,
So, but I'll tell you, I sold him this.
no, I understood. People were parking there, but the tarmac that's there right now, when was that?
Underground garage. or something.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Stream.
Okay. Thanks, Christie.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, anyone else want to be heard on this?
Yeah, well, that's a couple words. This is my hitman, the Chairman of the Environmental Commission, Rob Wilson. Joe, thanks for your comments and appreciate what you're doing there. Great to hear that coming from someone who owns property there. Really appreciate that. Chrissy, thanks. Thanks for your work on the finding that. That sounded like a little piece of work that didn't yield a lot, but it's good to get that sorted. It's nice to make even $1 into that fund. So really appreciate that. And it's just like, thank people for that comment on the from the resident on the dam. That's great. But yeah, I just wanted to, really, my question is not so much specifically related to this, but more open space in general. We've talked about that on the Environmental Commission, and I know that's been going. Rich and I've had a conversation on the Environmental Commission with his good work as liaison. So just encouraged to hear this activity that's going around and would like to continue that sort of forward momentum and start to live into those promises. I would say promises, I guess the voice of the community were heard saying that they wanted trails and paths and open space and whatever. And you know, there's a couple of bucks in the open space, the green fund or the open space. I don't know exactly what it's called, and it'd be great to see that put to good use to keep our local community local. So just encourage that to happen. Do we, I don't know if I can ask questions, but with the open space fund or the open space sort of management, is there a formal process? I can't remember if I wrote to you, Mayor, or others, but.
There is,
There's something on the rec committee, I know that, not the dollars so much, just the management of those dollars.
here we, recreation was, and public
And
space charged with maintaining the paths, the trails. And there is a trails committee underneath, recreation. That usually they check them, like Carrie's on that, they'll periodically walk the trails, and if there's a tree down or. They'll clean them, but if there's something that they can't do physically, they'll call Public Works to help out.
Okay.
Something has to be
Well,
done.
that's good. Maybe I didn't say this correctly, though, and I don't want to open this giant can of worms. It's clearly something, everyone knows what's behind that statement. Which is that big open body of land not too far from here, but absent that, or before we get to that, is there, if something else came up. If that would be the committee that would determine what to do with it? That would-
There would be-
Okay, but then who would?
I think the process you're talking about with management.
Yes.
Like the process in part, but.
Yeah. So the committee that would make recommendations as to where spending.
That would be.
You got it.
Recommendation.
We used to have an open space committee.
Yeah.
We folded them into recreation because they met like twice a year.
No. It seems like, and maybe it's needed as a formal, like regular committee or something like that, but.
Yeah, even if young people knew,
And I think it does make sense to at least have maybe a representative of the environment commission with the rec commission, sort of like, if we need it at some point. We need to do anything at this point, but just that concept of having both, rec and environmental.
Yeah.
right, well, if an opportunity.
Or if you're aware of, because some of you, your members might be aware of property that might make good open space, would you go to
There
recreation?
was a little one that Nancy and I discussed, but it's probably a bit problematic. That's 37 Morristown Road, which is where the ATM used to
yeah.
be. It's really small. I love the pocket park idea. It kills me that we lost that other one, the TD Bank across the street.
Yeah.
And we lost Friendly's, there's a couple of really nice areas that have been great for sort of green space and thousand. But I know that one has some.
You're also, I think it's an appropriate topic for the master plan, which I believe is about to be re-examined. There's a re-examination every 5 years, so there is an open space, I think. The master plan is in it, so that's a good time to have a lot of different stakeholders weigh in, where they think from a master plan standpoint, we should be allocating the funds in the future.
And actually, it's a combined open space and recreation.
Yeah.
So they do it, they're holding.
Plan.
We're off topic, this is. a hearing.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
In the fields.
This is just a hearing on this piece of property, right?
Okay. Yeah, people in
Close this and go back.
I would like the committee to develop that property to get it going. I built all the other fields.
Develop.
Development. You have to get a driveway, a safe driveway to it?
Oh.
What's that? You have a property you spend money to, so nobody can get it in one city, but it's big.
Hearing on this major disposal of parklands, if anyone else wants to be heard, I think Kathy Beach to speak. Are you there, Kathy?
I am.
We hear
There you
you.
go. Okay.
Am I there? Okay. Hi. Kathy Peachy, 70 Chilton Street. I make my apologies right away because I'm listening with very old speakers and so enabled my closed caption. But for example, closed caption, the interpretation can be somewhat confusing. For example, handicap came up as people in the app, and green acres came up as 3 acres. So I'm going to do the best with what I think I read. So I would like to know if the swap in any way encourages the anticipated high rise, well, I say high rise by Bernardsville standard, 5.5-story apartment development applications along Claremont Road, or if it in any way this swap acts as a gateway to that development.
Yes, no, not. There's no connection, Kathy.
No
Oh my
connection.
gosh. It says you see it, Mom. So I don't know. You're so I'm gonna close out and just listen, but I'll do my best to read the closed caption as well. Thanks.
Hey, Kathy. That's funny. Right, I will close the public hearing on major disposal of parkland. Somebody moved to reopen them.
I'll move to
Yeah.
reopen that meeting.
Second, all in favor? Okay, so now we're back to our regular agenda, which we have one item of new business left. Always stops. Stops, yes. Was there more? Yeah. I kind of agree.
I do really, love it. Look, I'm glad that they're trying to take a little bit more interest in county roads that are integrated into local communities, like, where most people don't even realize it's a county road, that I'm sure some others in town. I just think getting rid of the only semblance of order intersection with the one straightaway, I think is. Again, I think when it comes to, more pedestrian safety, pieces, the placard and whatnot, I think, or again, if we need to talk to certain landowners that are, private landowner, fencing trees, is there something that is specific issue?
There are trees,
The trees that.
there are trees, but they're not in the right of it, so.
No,
No, they also would have to agree, then the county would take them down, they're too big trees.
but we,
Is the county gonna talk to the?
Again,
Those trees are in there.
I'm just concerned that if, when everybody's stopping, you'll be so focused on who goes next that you won't even look at pedestrians.
It needs to be a controlled intersection.
yeah, 5-1.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Yeah.
But the people coming from Anderson Hill on mine to that intersection never stop at the stop sign, like you're supposed to. We can't, because you can't. Stop. Yeah, they don't. All the way in, I mean, I make that turn every day to school and I'm like, are you gonna stop at all? I stop in the middle of them because they're so far in the road that you have to stop. It's like. Exactly. So you have to stop in the middle of the road and there is no stop sign, so that's not safe either. I think there's been a few accidents there.
So you're pro.
No. I'm probably doing something. I mean, I'm not an expert, so.
Like-
it's the best.
Because you wouldn't have this, that's the specific.
Or.
they were asking our opinion, the chief and I said, look, I'm not an engineer. I did not study the chief as well. She's like, I'll for whatever's gonna be station. I said, like, don't ask my opinion because I'm just a regular woman. I'm not an
Same with all of us.
not an engineer. Yeah, so I will say one thing is the whoever lives on the corner of Mine Mountain and Claremont would have to agree to take the tree down because they're not the county, they're not.
That's a commercial business, right?
I don't think it is.
Here.
The partner there's some kind of construction company. That's there.
Okay, so that would help with visibility because it's one of the things that they come down. That they would like to make injunction.
And also they need to not let people park too far up that road. Yeah, like if you park in front of the bookboard, there's gotta be a point where you can't, because you can't see around those either.
So the odd thing, and I don't know, Jack, maybe you can talk about it. So they basically said, county road, we can
Do
put
whatever
whatever
we want.
we want. But yet we have to pass an ordinance, so I'm not really sure how those two go together.
It would be enforceable, Morris County used to require counties to adopt an ordinance to confirm their traffic regulation. Then they stopped and said you can't do it, and in my opinion, it's probably better to have it in our code book as well, but then rather than it's confined. You know, everybody can count it, so I think it would be enforceable even if we didn't adopt the ordinance.
But tell them we won't adopt the ordinance until they talk to the owner to get the trees down.
Tell them I'm not adopting the ordinance.
That one, it's just one.
Yeah, but they're looking to view, I'm in there and you know, they're all the time going through the buildings and it's dangerous.
And they're,
It's from the bookworm there, there's two or three.
Yeah, it's those spots
There'll
going.
be at least three cars back before you can park. Yeah,
I'm sorry, that might not be an indicator, but it's something maybe to look into. Because of that.
yeah, there's a pretty, there's a really is there. But the no parking sign is in that narrow portion. So there's literally buses that are driving on the opposite side of the street because the cars are there. I've tried to talk to the chief about it a few times in public safety, but then we stopped their meetings, so.
yeah, if we needed it, we could have it.
Yeah, no, I know, it's just, it's been out there, I just don't know what the chief has done with it, if anything, since then.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing.
Yeah, see, is sad, they park too close to the intersection and the road is too narrow to get a car there. Yeah. So. We'll wait on that one.
Okay, and then, the other thing I'd mentioned earlier was the, paving. Somerset County is paving, Mallier Road from Prospect to Route 202. And, they want to know if we would like nighttime paving. And I talked to the chief and, to the DPW director, and we would prefer nighttime paving because this is, like, hopefully it'll be done by then, but this is the area where RPM is building their in Amarillo. It's where
The main thoroughfare.
yeah, it's a main thoroughfare, there's school, there's businesses. Hopefully New Jersey American Water will be done by then, but we'll be doing our work by then. They hope to have this in the spring, so. We would recommend that we do a little paving.
Absolutely. Of course, they were supposed to do it in Childs and they didn't. That cross, it's Mount Airy from Prospect to the center.
So yeah, that's just all. Oh, it's not.
Oh, yeah. The river tracks. No, it's not hard. You said they were taking 2 nights?
They think, he said, part of it, tonight.
Yeah, they on table and then. Yeah.
Shouldn't you wait till all the construction's done and the entrances get out of
To clean, you're not part of the system, Joe, don't you know the time?
So I can say that.
You waited for the time. But. So.
No, do we have any control over the timeline anyone? I'm just curious, is the county?
Yes.
No. If the county, we're coming in.
But I mean. I don't know what, I don't know the word staying the strip of land and then. Status of our PM's building, but those big trucks do kill the road, for sure. All right.
If we put in over the county.
Let me just say.
Does the answer about the time to have it with RPM and the big trucks that they've got there? If they newly pave it and then RPM is gonna bring all their equipment in.
Maybe it did bring it to their attention that there was a building being built there.
Spring of 26, is that what they said?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Who said spring?
that's when and when
Oh, I
it says it's over 6 months later.
Oh, okay. Oh, and then this is not.
that's true,
Yeah,
I see.
because we went through all.
Last weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, time for our second open session.
Okay.
Very-
We built sidewalks. We built that, we got the county to build the wall the way we wanted, not the way they wanted. But they never finished the sidewalk that went from the end of the wall there, where the walls ended,
Yeah.
all the way to Basking Ridge. So our kids can go to our Y that we built. A lot of people from here built that Y. So we want that. The county
We
really,
asked the county and they said, if we want it done, we need to do it ourselves.
well, you know what? They promised that back then. Don't forget, when they came here, they wanted to put concrete walls in. We said, no. I said, no, you're not doing that. You're putting stone walls, and I got a company to do those stone walls. Then they said they weren't gonna change the poles, and I said, no, you're not doing it. And I got the new poles and new wiring and new drainage and the steps they didn't wanna do, they did. So they didn't like it, and the mayor was there at the time and the other guy, whatever. But if you don't ask, you don't get. You know what I say to them? I had a meeting with them the other day on the water situation coming off the mountain. The water's flowing off the mountain, coming down through the Claremont Road, and it's going through the opening in the viaduct, and it's flooding through that area and going and meeting the water coming down from Sini, and it's swirling around and causing erosion. So I called the county, they sent guys up, they started studying it all, and they said, you got a mess here because you have all the water. I said, that's nothing. Now they got trees down, you got trees down in the swale that goes under that I cleaned out a couple years ago. Remember when I cleaned up underneath the railroad? All that stuff that was flooding the town for how many? I called them, we came in, we saved our money, we didn't pay for it, we cleaned it all out. Remember
Didn't you get fined from the DEP for doing that?
No, we didn't, because there was a little problem. I can't talk about the problem, but we got it for free. Okay? It wasn't our problem, it was their problem. But what I'm saying is that we need to start looking at all this stuff. I mean, there's so many things going on. You know, and nobody's doing anything about it. So that's an issue.
Joe, you wanted to talk about the referendum, I think, before.
The school?
You tried to,
Yeah,
just tried to put something.
so the referendum. So I'm upset too. We the people of Bernardsville built Little League, built the polo grounds, Lower Polo, Upper Polo, Evan Cow. We put it together, and because of our friendships, we built all this stuff. And when you look at it, for nothing, you got the best of the best, and sometimes they didn't listen. And they didn't listen, like when the county, I went to the county, I fought with the county to get a turf field. So then they removed me from the committee. And so they removed me from the committee, and guess what happened? We got the turf field, but no drainage. So for the environmental people, all the other, Evan Cow is totally drained, totally sprinklered, with the proper loam, with the proper seed, but the council spec on that. We gotta go start looking back at what has to be done.
So
The upper field,
let's relate to this, is it?
because they have no money going towards fields. And they have used our fields. They're using all of our fields every day. And we're not getting anything for it.
But we use their buildings, we use the gym, we use the classrooms for camp.
We pay for it. We pay for it in our taxes.
No, it's the same money.
No, it's not the same money. The fields have to be maintained in the right, safe way. They have to be drained properly, fed properly. We need the bathrooms. I'm moving forward on that. I'm gonna get portables. You walk up, this is crazy, Bernardsville, New Jersey, with no bathrooms at the fields.
We're working on that, we're putting in a.
Yeah, I know. How many years? How many years? I mean, it's so easy to do. But what they use our fields and nobody's feeding them. You stop using the synthetic, you stop feeding the weed killing, you stop feeding them when they're supposed to be fed, the grubbing. So what's going on? And then you gotta go up there with nobody, then the traffic comes, the buses pull in there and pull anywhere, and there's cars all over. You know, it's not right. So we want to put a committee together and we're gonna start laying things out. We're gonna open that property up down there so we can get into it. And there's parking lots and they could at least use the property to go lay on the lawn, walk the trails.
All right, your time's up.
We can do that we can lay it out and do it in no time. You know what I'm saying?
Who's we?
Me, and I'll put a committee together. And we'll present you with everything that has to be done to get us back to where we're protecting what we built, what we invested in. The pool, I go to the pool, the bathrooms are dirty. They plugged the sewer line. It was plugged, they didn't call it rotor-rooter. They brought the backhoe up and broke the pipe. Then I started looking at the water. Why isn't there water running in why is there no pressure? Oh, the well's not working. I call it, why isn't the well working? I get the well working. Oh, they said they didn't know what, the well shit doesn't work. Why didn't they clean the bathrooms? The stalls were black. I said, I sent you a quote, here, $2,600 every night for the season, a month to clean like we did when we had the pool.
But we can't do that. I mean, it's part of the borough, we have to get big quotes. You know that stuff. You have to get bids to do big jobs.
Yeah, what do you mean? We ran the pool and we had the kids clean the
Then you
bathrooms.
We're
Pardon?
not a commission anymore. Recreation then was a commission. They could do it separately. Now it's a committee.
Oh, so do you have a committee to clean the bathrooms here?
We hired them for every day instead of 5 times a week.
No, there's so many things. The downtown is,
Don't work yourself up over this stuff. Honestly, it gets you nowhere.
the curbs. Remember I told you about the curb? The curbs were all peeling. You know why the curbs are peeling? Because they cooked the concrete. I told them, you put the concrete, the barrel's spinning and nobody's pouring. They didn't listen to me. See all our curbs are all exposed? The stone, it's taking on moisture. You see the settlement of the pavers to the people who are tripping over into the street? I mean, come on.
I don't know if on everything, Joe. I will follow up with Nancy and we'll.
So I'm willing to be on a committee to work out all these problems, okay? Like I did. I was involved in every single field, whatever. I wanna say one other thing. You tell me why we built every field for nothing. I even did drainage, half the price or a third of the price or whatever at Little League. Little League was my grandfather's property. I sold it to the town. My mother sold it to the town for 25,000. We cut the trees, we built the place or whatever. Why can't we get any money to buy them clay? Why is there clay? Why do they have to pay 25,000 for clay? Why do our fields not be taken care of when we have the school and whatever? Where is the money going for the people that are coming and renting our fields? Where is that money going? It can't go into the general fund. It should be going right into the field fund. Where's it going?
General,
Huh?
general fund.
General fund.
We don't
Why?
We don't have a fields fund. There's no utility anymore.
Well, what I'm saying is that you have a category then. The field, anything that goes on up there should go. We built the snack bars, we built the pool, we built the other pool. The other day I saw them, a couple months ago, I see them ripping the heater out of the pool and throwing it away. We put a heater in that pool for the younger kids. What is going on? I mean, it's like craziness.
All right. Motion for executive?
I'm gonna go into executive session.
Second? So, executive, sorry. We are not coming back now. Then we come back out for. No, we open an adjournment, but no, we're not coming back out.
You want me to come to executive?
No.